Alright, so let's get started with baking our lab here. I've built the lab a couple times, so I did some Google searches on DSAD, and I kind of have a script here that just goes and it runs the user accounts, OUs and whatnot that I want for my System Center environment. So, Active Directory users and computers, we have our System Center and all of our various accounts associated with that. Add group policy. And I'm always rusty, so forgive me if I bring us to the wrong area. Alright, so Windows Firewall, create some inbound rules. And, follow your company's best policies. This is for the lab environment here. This may or may not be the best way to do things in the real world, but we will have a pretty good idea of how to install System Center from the ground up. And there may be a better way to import the firewall rules into group policy, but I just did an export and I just copy and paste. So these first three here are basically the default ports, and these are going to be for expansion later as we add SCOM and other items. So we'll call this SQL TCP N. And then SQL TCP out. I'm glad they put the little green and red arrows. Okay, one last step in group policy that we're going to do. Users and groups. So we want to choose administrator built in, update as not to overwrite, and we have client installer. Alright, so we're going to make client installer part of the local admin groups for System Center. Is we need to go to the system container and ADSI edit, create a new object, call it container, and it's system management. And once we create that container, we go to the properties, security, hit add, choose object type computers, and let's see here. Alright, so we're going to add Vlog System Center. Give it full control. We're going to choose Vlog System Center again, go to Edit, and we're going to say this and descendant objects. Now it should give it the ability to edit anything within the system management container. Alright, so the next step as far as prerequisites go is to come over to Vlog SQL, and once again, because this is a domain controller, it's kind of complicating things, but not terribly. So we're going to built in administrators, we're going to add computer, we're going to add Vlog System Center as the local administrator on the SQL Server, which in this case happens to be the domain controller. Alright, so we should be done here with our SQL Server. So now we log into the now we are going to prepare our server. So I think Kevin Holman or someone has roles here. So we're going to save this as a PS1 file. So we'll run with this with PowerShell, and these are going to be all of our roles and features necessary. Save wsus. So we're going to enable the script, and then it's just going to run through and start doing its thing, which is very handy. The ADK, and we're going to need the WAIK. I usually do Windows Deployment Tool, pre-install, and user state migration. And install that. And to speed this up a little bit, we are not going to install wsus. We're going to do that in the next installment here. Alright, so we'll wrap up the Windows Automated Installation Kit. So we're going to choose Install. Alright, so we're going to choose just to install primary site. We're not going to use the standalone because we have a separate SQL server. Alright, so I downloaded the files that SCCM needs earlier today. So I'm just copying those source files that I obtained from Microsoft. And this will speed things up a little bit. But what you would do is say download required files to get those, and I made it see downloads kind of like they're recommending. Now we are going to go ahead and browse to that folder as I already have the downloads and kind of get ready for when this file copy is finished. This is tremendously faster than getting it online. Alright, so the file copy is complete. We'll just go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to scan through now. Alright, so we're going to choose English. You're going to choose whatever languages you need, obviously. You go with primary for primary site. Let's be kind of generic here. Install the console. I'm just going to go with the default settings. We'll choose to choose a standalone site. It's popping up here, and it's saying that we can turn this into a CAS later SQL. You go in evaluation, accept the terms. I'm going to go with the default SQL feature installation. Choose database. I think we need full text reporting, and then client management tools. Alright, so we're going to go with the default instance. You'll notice that you can no longer choose the same account for all three services. And I think that's a direction that Microsoft's going as far as security goes. I put these to automatic. I don't know if we should be or not, but that's what I do in the labs at least. So we're going to add the current user, the current domain admin, and then also I like to put the service account for SQL in here. We're going to install and configure. And then go ahead and run the setup. All right, so now that we're done installing SQL Server 2012 SP1, we'll go in and update the cumulative update. So SQL Server 2012 SP1 CU2 is what we're going for. All right, so once the SQL Server 2012 update kicks off, or cumulative update 2, we should be able to update our database. So there we go, it's checkmarked where it will allow us to update it. So we just hit next. And it's going to be nothing but default settings from here. All right, so now you'll see that these services are stopping from this SQL server, and it is updating SQL. Once this is complete, we'll go back to our System Center server. And there's this DAC framework. I'm not sure if we need to install this or not, but we might as well. And we're going to choose the Vlog System Center as the rest of the SMS providers and whatnot. I'm going to choose communication will be, basically we're not going to go with HTTPS. That would be like the old native mode. We're going to allow each site method to be either or as we determine, requires certificate or not. So now it's going to go through and check the prerequisites. Which we should meet all the requirements. Just go to the setup folder, bin, x64, and if we type extadsch, that will extend the schema. Alright, it says we successfully extended the schema, so if we run our check again, we should see that upgrade the schema and it disappears. Alright, so now we've confirmed that our schema has been updated. And we will begin our installation. And now if we hit view log, because we made SCCM, the trace tool, the default log browser, it's going to show us where it's at as it installs. So basically I'm going to end the video here, and the next segment will be going and configuring WSUS and then adding some boundaries and other types of SCCM initial configuration steps.